Here's the goal of the message today. Closing flatware faster and more often by showing it every single time. Are you going to sell it to every single customer? No, but when you do show it to every single customer, you will sell it more often, and you'll even get those easy walk-up sales down the road, like a year or 2 or 5 later, when someone walks up and instead of it being your idea for them to buy flatware, it's now their idea to buy flatware because you showed it to them before. I mean, how many times have you been in a situation where a customer was like, oh, you have flatware? I didn't know you had flatware. If I knew you had flatware, I would have actually bought it. I wouldn't have not bought the other stuff I just bought a month ago or last year. It sucks when that happens. It happens with cookware. It happens with everything that we sell, which is why if you want to be great at flatware, you have to understand it starts with every package, every client, every time. It's got to be a commitment. It's got to be a discipline. And you know, you've heard so many great things from all the speakers previous to me on all the calls so far about how to effectively and strategically talk about multiple packages with every client in an efficient way, so it's not taking you an hour to do that. All right, so use all the stuff that you've already learned about framing and positioning packages and the Cutco Kitchen as the premier option that most clients are working on. And that's the thing, framing it as if or as something that you tell your customers, hey, most of my clients are working on building up to these things. When you do that, you're using the bandwagon effect to create the feeling in the customer that most people are doing this. And what do people want to do more often than not? They want to do what everybody else is doing, right? They want to be like everybody else. Most people actually want to do what most people are doing, which is why the bandwagon effect works so well. It's psychological, it's subconscious, but it's very, very powerful when you work that in to all of your pitches and all of your presentations. So there's 5 main sections that you have to be sure you hit if you want the best chances of A, getting people interested and excited about flatware, and B, actually closing the flatware and selling it more often. Before I share those 5 things with you though, I just want to really stress with you guys. I've had so many conversations with coaching clients, CSPs, people at all levels in the business about how, you know, they feel about flatware. And so many people said to me, but Josh, it's just forks and spoons. You know, I'm excited about the cookware. I'm excited about the knives. I can sell the hell out of some gadgets. I love gifts and business gifts, but man, it's just forks and spoons and it's $2,500. What is up with that? So I will say to you, I'm not going to say anything but this. If that's the way you feel, then you will sell as much flatware as that feeling expresses to your customers, because you're not going to be excited about it. You're not going to be committed to it. You're not going to have bulletproof confidence when they show up with objections or when they throw something out about their situation at home. You just use it as an easy way to be like, yep, that justifies exactly how I feel, right? You'll get what you look for. You'll get what you focus on. So focus on why it's great. Focus on all the problems it solves. Focus on why our flatware is the best in the industry, and get excited about people investing in it. Get excited about selling it to people. Get excited about showing it to people. And guess what? People will get excited about it too, and they'll buy more of it from you just because of that. So that's got to be your first step, your go-to, because if you don't have that in there, nothing else I'm going to share with you works. So here's the 5 things, right? The 5 steps that have to be in every flatware experience in order for your clients to really embody it and for you to have the highest likelihood of selling it. Number 1, pique their interest and engage their interest. So pique it and engage it. Right? You got to get that interest level up. Number 2, uncover their pain points. Curtis has talked about pain points in the past. I find the number 1 thing people miss on flatware, which is why their closing ratio is maybe half what mine is because they're not actually engaging with and uncovering those pain points in a way that the customer feels relatable, feels is relatable. Number 3, provide solutions. That's the Cutco flatware package, by the way. Number 4, price positioning. All right, we're going to talk about that today. Number 5, objections. So I want to encourage you to put any major objections that seem to be like the sticking points for you. I don't care about the 1 grandma out of 1,000 that gives you the shitty objection that you heard one time and you didn't know how to overcome. That grandma's probably not going to buy it even if you knew how to overcome that objection. I want to know, what are the objections that hang you up every time? Like, you hear it and it throws you for a whirl, you're off the road and you're no longer in the race, right? And you lose the sale because of it. Post that in the chat box, because I will actually role play how I'll handle that objection when we get to the end here. So feel free to post those in the chat box. Now I'm just wasting time so you guys have some time to type things out in the chat box so that you don't have to miss the notes or anything like that before I move on. So get those objections in the chat box. I'm happy to address them here in a little bit. Or if you don't put it in the chat box, I'll just open it up at the end because we should have some time for that. Okay, these are simple and easy to do. Sometimes it only takes about 60 to 90 seconds. Other times it may be a 5 to 10 minute conversation. There is no right or wrong way to do it. What matters most is that you understand it, that you practice it, and that you're disciplined about it. You don't sell $400,000 in flatware sets by chance or by mistake, okay? It's something you do with intention, and it's something any of us, in this group especially, can do if we want to. So let's talk about number one, pique and engage their interest. This is from Calvin. I love this. Just the quote of, so when are we going to get you your flatware set? It's such a money line, and it's perfect. It's great for Cutco owners and for past customers, especially if you already have rapport. It works because it's direct, it's engaging, and it's actually kind of fun. So, hey, Brian, I'm just curious, when are we going to get you your flatware set? And you know what's funny is when you ask the question, they're going to tell you immediately what's on their mind about it. You just got to be cool about it. I've heard so many people say, yeah, it works for Calvin, but I'm not Calvin. Calvin's just so direct. All right, that's a bunch of bullshit, right? I also am not as direct as Calvin. I am also not Calvin, but it works for me because all you have to do is just be cool about it, right? Hey, so, it's just got to be fun. It's got to have a light tone of it. It can't be like, so Rob, when are you going to get your flatware set? Right? That's not going to work for you because it comes across as a little aggressive, right? But when you're like Calvin, you're like, so Sally, when are we going to get your flatware set for you? She's like, well, I'm probably never going to get it. Why not? That doesn't make any sense to me. It's Cutco, right? And you just have fun with it. So you can also go the quality question style. So I like this one too. I'm curious, when you think about the things you'll upgrade in your kitchen in the next 3 to 5 years, would you see yourself investing in a quality set of flatware if you never had to do it again? Right? We're popping fear bubbles. We're handling objections. We're asking a quality yes question because the likelihood of someone saying yes to that is very high when they think about it in terms of how you're using the words, how you're actually phrasing the question. Another quality question style of approach and piquing their interest and re-engaging them into the flatware is, hey, I'm just curious, like, Brian, what's your flatware situation like at home? What's your flatware situation like at home? I love this one because they tell you about, grandma's flatware and then the flatware they have from when they got married. And then they tell you about, the new flatware they bought 5 years ago. And they tell you about the cheap ass shitty flatware that they have in their drawer as well. It's like, there's so many different things that you like. I love it. Most people hear all that stuff and they're like, oh man, damn, they're not going to buy flatware from me. I hear all that and I'm like, great. This is a perfect opportunity for me to solve a major problem and get them to buy back multiple drawers and cupboards that they're probably not even using that much. Let's clear all that shit out, donate it to your church, donate it to Goodwill, donate it to the Salvation Army, give it to your kids. I don't fucking care what you do with it. Do something with it. But let's get you one good quality set that's going to last you the rest of your life and be nice enough you can use for everything. That makes a lot more sense than what you're telling me right now, doesn't it, Mrs. Jones? Right? Now, clearly, I'm not cussing and swearing with my customers as much as I do with you guys. So, be cool. All right. Just be professional. So you can also use the presumptive approach. Hey, while I have you, I have to show you the box of beauty. While I have you, I have to show you what we call the box of beauty, right? Or whatever you want to say. I have to show you our sexiest product. I have to show you our sexiest package. However you want to phrase it or position or whatever, it's just be presumptive, right? You can use that too. This works really good with builder customers, people who are get to the point, people who are like yes or no, like they know what they want, they know what they don't want. Hey, you know what? While I have you here really quick, I got to show this to you because it's like our best special. It's our sexiest special. It's our sexiest package that we have. It's our box of beauty, whatever you want to call it, right? Another great way to pique their interest and re-engage their interest is to grab a stack of forks or spoons out of the flatware chest and hand it to them. Not just one, a stack of them. I grab a whole section of 6 and I put them in their hands. Because when you do that, they go, oh, they're so heavy. I'm like, I know, right? They're so nice. Top quality. They're really great, right? Hand them a stack of spoons and forks and watch how often you don't get the lightweight objection anymore. The other thing that you need to do in this section is cut leather with a table knife. Yes, again, even if you already did it once, do it again. It's been at least many minutes since they cut leather, maybe even months or years. We got to get that wow demo out there. And guys, I can tell you, I've seen it happen 1,000 times where I hand them that table knife and I go, here, cut the leather. And they're like, no, no, it's okay. I'm like, no, no, you got to do this. And they're like, okay. And then they cut it and they're like, oh my gosh, is that a steak knife? I'm like, yeah, it's a steak knife and a butter knife all in one. It's funny how they'll hold the steak knife in their hand and look at it and assume it's only a butter knife. But then you cut the leather and they're like, holy crap, and they're mind blown, right? This is how you pique and engage their interest at a very high level. And you do it quickly and effectively and efficiently. Number 2 and number 3, let's uncover pain points and provide some solutions. How do we do that? This is all about asking questions that are easy to answer and that make it personal to them and their situation at home. So what do I mean about that? This is also about pre-handling objections before they come up. Beware. I've done this both ways, where I've just rattled this info off to a client and I've presented this info through asking quality questions. And I can assure you the quality questions approach lands with them the best and leads to them purchasing the flatware the most. And the reason most people tend to just rattle this stuff off instead of taking the extra minute or 2 it takes to ask the question and let them answer it is because they're trying to save time. They're like, oh, I just don't want to end up in another 5 to 10 minute conversation about the flatware and have them not buy it. I'd rather talk to the next customer. So I'm just going to rattle all this information off and see if they buy it, right? But what most people don't realize is that they rattle all the information off and the customer doesn't really connect with it or feel a high level of desire because they're not making it personal and they're not getting into the customer's world. And as a result, then the customer has all these objections and then they have to go back and be like, yeah, but I already told you this. And they're like, yeah, I know, but, you know, and you actually spend more time on the back end than you would have if you would have spent the time on the front end asking the questions and building their desire and making it personal to them so that when you get to closing and pricing and asking for the order, they're just like, yeah, it totally makes sense. Or instead of having 5 objections or 5 reservations or 5 things they're not really that sure about because you just talked at them instead of talking with them, you end up having to overcome multiple different things, which takes a lot more time to do once they've already said no, right? So here's my questions. I never skip these questions. And when I do, I realize that it's usually the reason that I may not have closed that flatware chest like I should have. So number 1, have you ever run a spoon in the garbage disposal? Hey, so I'm just curious, Rob, have you ever run a spoon in the garbage disposal before? And then promote our guarantee, okay? I'm not gonna tell you how to promote the guarantee. You already know how to freaking do that. I'm just going to give you the questions. Number 2, second question I always ask, hey, do you have a set you inherited that you never use? So I'm just curious, like, Seth, do you have a set of flatware that you never use that you inherited from grandma or something like that? And then you promote no maintenance, plus 1 good set for everything, plus truly a family heirloom that they're buying that will get used for generations. When you connect with that, hey, you know what's really great about this? Like, you know, everybody I meet has grandma's silverware set that's in the drawer that they never end up using because they don't want to polish it, they don't want to maintain it, so it just never sees the light of day. And they're like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm like, what I love about the Cutco flatware is that it puts you in the position where you can literally invest in this today, pass it on to the next generation, and because there's 0 maintenance to it, your family will actually use it. Your kids and then your grandkids and then their grandkids and their grandkids for generations. And they'll appreciate you because of it instead of feeling the way that you're feeling right now about grandma's silverware that's taking up the drawer. Right? And then question number 3, have you ever lost a piece, gone to find replacements, only to find out that they discontinued your design? Very important you ask it this way. I'll paste it in the chat box here for you. Have you ever lost a piece, gone to find replacements, only to find out that they discontinued your design? That's a yes question. Almost everybody says yes. And then I say, isn't that frustrating? Another important question, follow-up question. Isn't that frustrating? And then this is a 3-part question, right? So it's a conversation I'm facilitating because it's the most important piece. It's our biggest part of the value proposition that gets people excited about our flatware. I'd say it's the #1 reason my clients buy it. So isn't that frustrating? Yeah, it is. You know why companies do that, right? And then power pause. Let them answer the question. Their brain has to process it, but once they process it, they go, yeah, because they want you to buy a whole new set. I'm like, exactly. And then you promote. I always say my favorite thing about Cutco and our flatware is that our philosophy as a company has always been one and done. So promote one and done. Promote buy a spoon or fork. 20 years from now, it will always match. And people are like, oh, that's really cool. So remember, ask these questions, because when you ask them and they answer them, that's where you're creating that personal experience. You're getting into their personal world, and you're building their desire because you're making it relatable to their situation at home. All right. #4, and we'll wrap this thing up and talk about objections. #4, price position. The best thing about the flatware is that it's our very best special. This is literally what I say. The best thing about our flatware, Brian, because at this point, if they have a high level desire, if you're doing a good job getting them engaged, they're going to ask, well, so how much is the flatware? Or they're going to tell you some objection as to why they may not be interested in it or may not want it, which you can then handle and move into closing anyways. But ultimately, I love it because when you do a great presentation, by the time you get to this point, they're asking buying questions or they're sharing their objections without you having to even try to sell it to them. So when we get into the, hey, so how much is it? Oh, that's the best thing about the flatware, is that it's our very best special. In fact, I don't even know how Cutco is making money on this, because I've never been able to save people as much as I can on our flatware right now. Power pause, let it sit, let it land, and then they'll either ask how much, or if they don't, you ask just for fun, would you like me to show you the special that we're running? Yes question, right? If they have any level of interest, they'll say yes. Hey, you probably don't remember this. This is what I say for past customers. If it's not a past customer or not somebody I've talked to Flatware about already at some point, I just skip the probably don't remember this thing, right? And I'll just say, you know, hey, you probably don't remember this, but last time I saw you, or last time you saw Cutco, it was over $2,500 for the set. Right now, we've got it on special for blank. That's over blank dollars off, which is over blank dollars in savings. And what's great is that gets you the 12 sets of forks and spoons, plus 12 of the knives, plus the chest. Power pause. Let it sink in, right? Watch their nonverbal cues at this time. Listen to what they're saying to you. Listen to what they're saying to each other. Be very aware and very present in this moment, because they will almost always tell you everything you need to know. And then I'll usually say, plus that also includes the matching serving pieces to go with it. And that's when they go, oh, it has those too? I'm like, yeah, I know, right? You get the whole complete package. And we even let you split that into 5 charges, no interest or credit check, which makes it only blank per month, which breaks it down to only blank per day for the next 5 months. And then it's paid for, and you literally never have to invest in flatware again for the rest of your life. Yep. It's called, like, you price it, review what they're getting, and then stack the value, right? You stack the value, stack the value, stack the value, stack the value. And then the last thing I'll say is, now I'm just curious, if you were to invest in Cutco Flatware, and this is a Mike Dowd line I got from watching his roleplay video on YouTube that we've shared with you many times. Now I'm just curious, if you were to invest in the Cutco Flatware, is that a pattern and a style you think you would like and appreciate if you had it? And if you really want, you know, let them answer the question, obviously. And if you really wanted to, do you think you could budget for that without breaking the bank if you really wanted to? And then that's it. They're going to give you all the information you need at that moment to know exactly what to pivot to, what to do in order to get that flatware closed, or at least get it in the future order pipeline and get a planned time to follow up with them down the road. So when it comes to handling objections, I just figured to ask you guys, what are your most common objections? Let's role play handling them. Kelly, can you give me a quick timestamp? Do we have any time left to do that? Or am I out already?
We're out.
We're out of time. Cool. Maybe we can actually role play objections at the at Dangerfield next week in our off time.
Yep.
Not on the agenda.
Yep. I think a little birdie told me we're going to have some round tables. So this would be a top question for Josh to help with roundtables.
Beautiful.
So is there anything else we want to talk about, or just that was the last thing was going to be role play?
That was the last thing. So I'm out of time, everybody, but I promise I will get you how I will handle these objections. I'll go grab them out of the chat box and I will get them to you.
Sweet. Awesome, guys. Round of applause for Mr. Mueller. I love the pacing of the Flatware because he's absolutely right. You know, a lot of times it's like, oh, we'll just kind of give them the basics of it. You know, yeah, it's got this. But I think really taking it slower and making them feel the emotional pain of some of these different things of like, yeah, how annoying is that when that happens? Like, yeah, what do you do in that situation? Like, yeah, how much do you really pull out grandma's Flatware because it's so high maintenance? You know, it really helps them get into like, oh man, wow, my forks and spoons are really not doing the job. Like they are really problematic. I really should consider replacing these, not just, these are just different forks. So I love it. That was a fantastic message. And it's going to help remind us to sell more Flatware more often. So